Your notes is whatever you have learned on the topic till that time. So even if you get back to the topic after a long time, you'll have the confidence. Okay, I'll read my notes. I'll get everything back. The main reason for writing notes is during classes, whatever the teachers say, they may sometimes say some things which you don't find in any books. They teach from their experience.
Welcome to Success Tips from Topper's Lips. I'm your host for today. My name is Giridhar. I volunteer for Arjuna Group. And let me tell you, today is a very special show because we have a very special guest with us. It is said that whenever you meet someone, you should try to learn something from them. But today, we don't just have someone in the studio with us. Today, you're going to meet someone who has reached the pinnacle of success. Today, we have with us none other than All India Rank 2. जी हाँ आपने सही सुना AIR 2 in JEE Advanced 2020 Bhuvan Reddy. Bhuvan, thank you so much for being with us. So my first obvious question to you is, what was your first reaction when you came to know your rank, your All India Rank 2? How did you feel?
So uh, basically, even before getting the results, I kind of knew that I wrote the exam well. So the previous day itself, I knew that I was going to get a good rank between 1 to 5. And after hearing that I got the second rank, I was very happy, and my parents were happy, and I was at my home at the time. So yeah, that was a memorable moment for me.
That's very interesting. You said you already knew you would get rank 1 to 5. That's brilliant. Okay, anyway, now you're living the dream. You're in IIT Bombay, computer science, and I'm sure you're loving the campus and loving your
Yeah.
friends and peer group, right? So today's topic, which we have for our viewers, is how to make effective study notes. This is the topic that you have chosen, and this is a very interesting topic, Bhuvan. Generally, whenever we call any toppers or something, they choose topics like, how do you make effective study plan, or how to make strategies for preparing, or strategies for writing the exam. These are the general topics students select. My first question to you is, why did you choose this topic of how to make effective notes?
Yeah, I know many people mainly talk about the strategies, time management, how to study physics, chemistry, and all. But writing notes is something which many people don't take seriously. But in my personal experience, I've benefited tremendously from writing notes. So anyone can writing notes; they can definitely get benefited. So it is sometimes overlooked. That's why I chose this topic to share my experience of what benefits you get from writing notes and how to do it basically. Yeah.
That's very interesting. And therefore, on that note, I would probably like to tell our viewers that maybe you want to take out a notebook for the rest of this video. Right? So now on to the probably the most obvious question. Bhuvan,
Yeah.
how did you make your notes during class? When you attended classes, how did you make notes?
Yeah, so the main reason for writing notes is during classes, whatever the teachers say, they may sometimes say some things which you don't find in any books. They teach from their experience. So they may say some important things which you can't find anywhere. So you should not miss out on those kind of things in today's competitive world. So every small thing is important. So the main reason for writing notes is to not miss out on those non-trivial things. So there are many things which you can find in books and all, but few things when you miss them once, you can't find them. So the main reason is to make sure you get those non-trivial things. And also, you need not write everything. So you need not just write a transcript of the whole class basically. So
Yeah.
yeah, so you should not miss out on those important things. So when listening classes, the first thing is should not get distracted and listen to everything the teachers say. So that's the first important thing. And you can just write them down, so that uh, when you revise the notes later, you'll get all those things which you learned back then. Also, there may be few things which you know at that point, but you may forget them in the future. So it's better to write them down, and while writing you can just say it out to yourself. You can explain it to yourself, basically say some proof or something. So when you explain it to yourself, this step came from this step, why, how, and so on, uh, then those concepts will get your brain very well, and you will be able to retain them for longer. You'll get a clarity, basically.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you mean to say that, like even when you write something, say a derivation, you're writing and you do okay, step one, step two, step three. Maybe in class you're not able to write down everything, so
yeah,
you'll go step one and then you'll skip two, three steps and write the next step. And when you go back, you'll actually go and reflect. Okay, how did I go from here to here? Is that what you're saying?
yeah. So in during class you may not have that time to reflect on what you learned. So during class you need to cope up with the pace of the class. So you just write down the important things, and while reading in study hour, uh, when you are working on that theory or proof, so you can step by step explain it to yourself. So think about how this came, why not this, why this, and all those things which you got clarity in that session, you can write them in the notes in a brief manner, so that when you see it later, you'll be able to recollect all the work you did. Yeah,
Okay, okay. So if I understand correctly, you're saying that you would actually, to some extent, in your study hours, your revision time, you would complete your notes, so to say. You would expand
yeah,
on
yeah,
it. So basically, like maybe in class you don't hear everything. So you write some bullet points and then you go back, reflect on it, and then you fill in your notes, right?
yeah. So during study hour, you will definitely revise what was taught in the class, because uh, no one is like just listen class and practicing problems. So you need to revise it once to uh, soak all the concepts in your brain. So while doing that, you'll go through everything once. So at that time, you may not get few clarity in the classroom. So when you read it for yourself, you get some clarity. So those things at that time you can write in the notes. So you can parallelly read and write the notes. It's not some additional task you have to do to write the notes. Someone will check and all. Because only by reading the book you won't get anything. You need to write in the book. So why not do it in the notes, a bit neater, writing the reasons, why this, why that. And so that will at that point you may not see the immediate help, because anyway you have revised that concept, you know that. But while seeing it in the future, so at that point you'll definitely get benefited from that. You can revise it fastly at that time.
Correct, correct. And a very interesting word you mentioned there is neat. Your notes should be neat. Sometimes, especially, I probably in chemistry we tend to write notes properly because there it is more theoretical. But
Yeah,
in physics, there may be like, for example, a tendency to just use your notebook more as a rough copy. Like sir gives some question and you just okay something.
mm,
You're not
yeah,
following any pattern, just randomly writing things. But you mentioned that write it neatly, and that will help you revise it later, right?
mm, yeah.
That's
So
brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah, you want to add something to that?
yeah, so writing neatly, you can use different colored pens. So you can emphasize some points. You can use highlighters to mark down important. So when you have to read a notes in 1 or 2 minutes, you can just see the important points. So you can do those things and make your notes a bit neater, because when your notes is neater, I feel you can remember it well, rather than some random notes with unstructured notes. So if you structurally write your notes, you'll be able to retain it more, and it will be more helpful.
Yes, even I have some experience of this. At least in, I'm guilty of not writing good notes in physics, but in chemistry I wrote very good notes because my teacher would emphasize I should do it. And in that I remember that especially like organic chemistry, the reactions and all, because they were written neatly. Those pictures, those compounds, the reactions, they stayed in my memory even like after two three
Yeah,
revisions. That the page itself is there in your memory,
yeah, that's
right?
true. That's true.
Correct. Yes. So that's great. So generally, like this is kind of like our next question, but many students feel that, sir, what is this notes revision? So much notes already. Once we have heard class, There are so many books, so many problems to do. Why not
Yeah,
just solve problems? Problems itself will cover all the concept. Why so much worry about notes? So, what would you say to a student who's thinking like this?
yeah. There will be two kinds of students who, some people who prefer reading theory first and then solving problems. Some students prefer to learn from solving problems. So when solving problems, you don't get one, you learn about it and just go on solving problems. But I prefer, I feel that first you need to get a solid clarity in the concepts basically. So because without having that solid base of concepts, uh, when you solve problems you will soon get stuck in some problem, and you need to go back and again revise the concept. So rather, first you can revise the concepts well and revise some solid examples, and after you cover all of them, then you can start solving problems. Then solving problems is also very important, but first you need to revise the concepts. After that, while solving problems, you may encounter something you may not get that, and you may have been wrongly thinking about some concept till that point, and that problem may change your perspective. So then you can just go back and just see what went wrong, what am I thinking and all. But without that solid base solving problems, I think most of them will get stuck, or it will be incomplete to practice without learning the concepts. So
Yeah.
first I would recommend to learn all the concepts, then start solving.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes, without a base, just directly jumping into problems, it's you just get stuck. Like as
yeah,
you were mentioning, once you have a base, when you do a question, you can learn from more from it as well, right?
yeah,
Because you get stuck somewhere, then you realize I understood something wrongly. Versus you don't have a base, you just start a question and you are looking at the question is looking back at you, and it's just time is flying. That's all. Nothing
yeah,
much is happening, right?
mm,
And also probably there's another interesting aspect is like notes. If you see books or problems etc., that knowledge is not yet assimilated, right? But notes is
yeah,
something which, like, when you write something in a notebook, you have learned it actually,
yeah.
right? So do you want to share something about that?
Yeah, so notes is not only for theory and classes. So even while solving problems, you may do something and say, you may do in some other approach and go, and you'll get some answer, but that turns out to be wrong, and you don't understand why. You did all the steps correctly, you got the wrong answer. Then you'll ask doubt to teacher, or you'll figure out it yourself what's the wrong in your solution. So those things you don't find in any concepts, any theories. So those mistakes which you make while practicing, uh, you should definitely note them down. So because you can very well make that mistake in the exam as well, and you won't notice it, because even now you thought you were correct till seeing the answer. So those things you can write, you should definitely write them in the notes, uh, and when you see it later, you'll see, okay, I should not do it this way, this is the mistake in this way, and so on. So notes will also be helpful in that way. So notes is as a
So,
collectively what you learned in the topic.
got it, got it. So, like, what all do you make notes for? You have your, I heard you mention at least three. One thing
Yeah,
is you have your class notes, which is basically
yeah,
you went to class, attended the class, you made notes for that. That's one. Second thing is that class notes, you come back and revise and expand on it. So, there is another
yes,
time you take note. Then,
yeah,
third one you mentioned is when when you solve a question and make a mistake, and
mm.
you learned something from that. So what other situations are there? Like, these are three clear notes situations where you said that a student should make notes and do. Is there any other situation like that?
Yeah, so first of all, learning starts from the class, so we make notes from the class. Then, while revising the theory, you can make notes, and the next ones are while solving problems. So, when solving problems, you make a mistake and realize, you should definitely note them down. Those things are more important than few other things, because those things you can find in textbook. You can read them later, but
Hmm.
these mistakes you'll make them only once, and you can make it in the exam as well. So you should definitely
Hmm.
note them down. And also, while solving, you may feel some question is some really good, or it's a really good question and all. You may have solved it at that time, so you can just note it down, because
Okay.
yeah,
So did you
they
have
also
like a
have
separate
good questions.
notebook for your for important questions also, like which you will should come back and revise later, like that?
I prefer keeping all of them at this single place. So, uh,
Okay, okay.
regarding one chapter, I would write all the notes at the same place.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
You would write notes at different times, but for one chapter they would all be together. So when you revise, you
yeah,
just go through the entire chapter. You can actually revise the class notes. You will then revise your contemplation on the class notes. Then you will revise the mistakes and misunderstandings that you had, so that in your revision time those get cleared off. And you will
yeah,
also revise the tough questions which gave you a lot of insight into the subject. So
yeah.
all
True.
of this gets revised in one place, which is like a gold resource for you. No, like it's not available in any textbook. It's not available on the internet, anything like that,
Yeah,
right?
basically, your notes is whatever you have learned on the topic till that time. So even if you get back to the topic after a long time, you'll have the confidence. Okay, I'll read my notes. I'll get everything back. So
Exactly,
that's why.
exactly.
Just need to
And
keep
that's
everything.
so important actually. Many students, when we interact with them, they actually, especially in the September October period of 12th standard, they come and tell us, that sir, okay, syllabus is over, now revision is starting. I forgot what is Newton's laws of motion. I forgot everything. And
Yeah,
like how to revise this, like every whatever I study in 2 weeks I'm forgetting, I don't understand. But it seems like all of this can be very much helped by just making good notes, right?
true.
Great. So another question which students generally have is that already there is compiled notes also. Like today is like 21st century. We have textbooks. That is one thing, but even online you may find notes for a particular chapter. Like say especially inorganic or organic chemistry, you will find just okay aldehydes notes. You will get a full sheet of reactions or whatever, right? So students may think, are we like living in the 19th century? Do I have to take out pen and paper and write myself? What is the need for this? So what are your thoughts on this?
So I think many students may feel like writing notes is an extra effort. So they have to write everything on papers. It's like some homework given to them. But you need not write notes like as a separate task. So you just do it while you're learning, and make sure you're learning. You don't forget it. You just write it in your notes. Anyway, you have to write it in your rough notes while working on it. So just write it in your notes in a way that you will understand it later. And while writing notes, you can speak to yourself. So I got this way, that way. And when you write it, I'm sure you will be able to remember it for longer time, and you'll understand it better when you speak to yourself, and rather than just seeing it through your eyes. Writing it definitely helps.
I see. You mentioned
Also,
at least
there are
twice
many.
in this conversation the concept of speak to yourself.
Yeah,
Could you like run us through like an example or something, because for our viewers to be able to relate with this, like how would
yeah.
you speak to yourself while writing notes?
Yeah, speaking to myself just means that I'm explaining it to myself. So I feel like I am the teacher, and I'm the student at the same time. So say suppose there is a proof or some theorem we need to be proved. So proofs are done from scratch basically. You'll have nothing, and at the end, through some set of rules, you will arrive at the conclusion. So I just feel like I'm explaining it to myself, and I'll have a say in physics. So you're solving an NL, Newton's laws of motion question. So you write equations and solve them. So basically, what I talk to myself is, so why this equation? Is it correct or not? So when should we apply this equation? So what am I doing? Is it correct or not? So when you do that, through course of time, you will be able to do it fastly. So you need not explain yourself in
Hmm.
exam why this is it correct or not. You will be able to do it directly. So as a part of the
That's
learning process,
brilliant.
I just talk to myself and just have clarity on it.
That's, that's brilliant. See, honestly, let me tell you, Bhuvan, in this conversation itself, at least in my whatever I'm interacting with students, right, there are few very common questions. One of them is that, sir, it takes too much time, and other one is I'm not getting faster. How do I get faster at doing? I think both
Mm.
you have answered in today's conversation itself, which is such an amazing thing. I mean, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. uh, Finally, I just want to ask, what is the harm of not making notes? We have already discussed this in various
Yeah.
ways, but is there something which you want to specifically add? When, if you know, what is the harm if a student doesn't make notes at all?
Yeah, so not making notes. There are many books available, so all of them have good summaries, all the formulas listed. So those are the formulas which you need for the exam. It's all there, but uh, this
It's not with you.
key, yeah. So these key things which you will learn till that point, they'll be lost basically. There won't be much use for you uh, doing all that hard work till that point. So whatever you did, whatever mistakes you made, those things are important because you can make that mistake in the exam as well. When you forget about it and finally make it again in the exam day, uh, that's not that's not good, right? So you need to be you need to note those things. The main harm of not writing notes is at the revision time. So it's not like in the first year when you read a chapter for 1 week. So at the revision time you need to quickly cover all the things, read 2 3 chapters in a day quickly. So at that time a well organized notes can really save your time and make your revision faster.
And I also think another aspect is that when you don't write notes, you can be quite distracted in the class. The
Yeah, true,
activity of
because
writing notes actually helps us concentrate as well.
yeah, it's tough to keep listening for classes. You may get distracted.
We get distracted,
Yeah,
and
when you
probably
write
more
notes, you
common
have a
problem
task in
is,
your hand. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah. When you are writing notes, you have a task in your hand, so you won't get distracted. You will
Correct.
focus on that thing.
And probably distraction is one thing. Another one is sir is teaching something, you are not writing notes, and uh,
Yeah, that happens a lot with many students. Yeah,
sleep and all these things, right?
that's a
Yeah.
big problem
Yeah.
actually.
Very true, very true. And just the activity of trying to understand, to be involved in the class by, using all your senses. This is like an aspect of learning, that try to involve all your senses in the learning process. That helps you absorb more. So use your hands to write and talk to yourself when you are learning. Expand your notes. All of these things can really help you involve and learn better and concentrate in the class and everything. Yes,
Yeah, they
Th-
really are.
that's that's really amazing. So I think we have had a very, very healthy discussion on the importance of writing notes. And there have
Mm.
been many pearls of wisdom which have come out in this conversation. So it's always very wonderful to interact with really successful people like you, Bhuvan. Actually, I'm a working professional, and even then, this discussion is very relevant to me also. So it's like, say, meetings and stuff, right?
Yeah,
I should make notes. That's what I learned today. Right. Okay. Finally, I know that in 12th standard, I think you got a copy of The Art of Concentration in the Age of Distractions. And you were mentioning how, that book actually helped you in your preparation. So, would you like to share something from your personal life about, how this book actually helped you? Would you recommend students to read and learn from this book? What
yeah,
do you have to say about it?
sure. So I read that AOC book in my 12th standard. So mm, the main thing about the book is that all the examples given in the book, all the techniques given, all the examples given, so they're very relatable. They are not some generalized things. They feel like so the book was written based on our common life experiences, and they feel very relatable to our lives. So it's not like some philosophy or something. So if you carefully think about them, all the points mentioned in the book, they're very true. The reasons why you get distracted are they were very clearly explained in the book. So I read the book in my 12th standard. So uh, the main thing is which I liked in the book is that distraction is our choice. So uh, we need not blame some external factors. So whatever happens to you, it's because you took that decision. So that's the main thing that I learned from the book. And I stayed motivated and made sure that I did not waste much time. So uh, reading that book really helped me, and I would definitely recommend that book to anyone. So in this age, because everyone is getting distracted, everyone have social media on their hands. So and this book greatly explains all those things, how not to get distracted, why we get distracted and all. So it will definitely benefit anyone. So
Yeah.
I'll definitely
and
recommend the book
and
to anyone.
actually not just social media. So I'm also interacting with students in residential campuses. So as you know, they don't have access actually to
Yeah,
mobiles and stuff, but I didn't feel like they are any less distracted, because the thing is, distraction, the mobile is just an external trigger. The actual cause of the distraction is the mind. So
yeah,
even in residential campuses, I've seen students maybe sitting with a book. They're sitting in front of the book, but mind is not moving only. Either they are thinking about, अरे ये टीचर ने डांट दिया, मेरा जीवन कितना खराब है, उसको मार्क्स आ रहा है, उसको मार्क्स आ रहा है, मेरा नहीं आ रहा, हाय 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 हाय. I don't know what are they thinking, right? And they are
uh,
like, they are fully, they are not distracted by social media, but their mind, because of its thought loops, its negativity, is not letting them work. Sometimes people start worrying about, what will happen in the exam, this, that. All kinds of different distractions are there, and it's so strange that all students face this problem, but nobody really knows what is the concrete way of solving this. you know
yeah,
it's in a exam like JEE, wouldn't you agree that if one is actually systematic and focused and just studying sincerely for 2 years, any student should be able to do well, right? Maybe they won't get AI or two like you, but they should be able to do well. Would you agree with this?
yeah, definitely. 2 years is a lot of time, and you can definitely with a uh,
Exactly, right? Like JEE
good
is not
plan
a,
and
but the problem happens is that these various things come and block the student, and that's the only reason they are not able to do well, and they are going through stress and all these things. And as you mentioned, this book actually, it helped you also. It helped me also. So I didn't mention this to you, but I have read this book in my 12th standard,
mm,
and there was specifically the concepts of the modes of nature, garbage in, garbage out. All of these concepts helped me a lot, like when when giving exams, dealing with the stress of the actual JE day, all of these things. So yeah, so definitely I think you this is a must read for all students today,
yeah,
right?
definitely.
Great. Okay, Bhuvan, thank you so much for your time. It was a very wonderful discussion. I wish you all the best for your future. And we
Thank you.
do hope that you will come again on our channel and share some wisdom with the students. Okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.